Hey there, everyone, and welcome to this week's Focus Friday. Focus Friday is where we help start conversations in the coaching and the educational spaces. And this week's topic is something that I really enjoy, and it's called Do This. And what we're talking about this week is how do we demonstrate the actions or the attitudes or even the involvement that we want from our team and our students. And this has been a big change for me personally over the last couple of years. What I used to do was basically explain everything I want. This is the technique. This is how I want it done. These are the steps that we're going to go through. For example, in the volleyball world, maybe we're doing attacking, and I'm going to say, okay, this is how I want the footwork, and I want your shoulders and your elbows to do this, and then a follow through. And what I've learned is I waste a lot of time doing that. What I should have done and what I do now is I'm going to show it first. We're just going to do it. Let's go out there and just try it. Okay, I want you to go out and hit a baseball. From someone that's never played baseball, at least understand the concept of going up to the plate, holding the bat, swinging the bat, right? My technique's going to be garbage. But what I'm doing is I'm getting a really good starting point to see where I'm at. Maybe I would end up spending a lot of time trying to fix something that I don't have a problem with. I'm just assuming that because I've never played baseball, I'm not going to have the right grip or the right stance, but maybe just naturally I happen to have it. And I wasted all that time explaining the steps and telling the players what I want to do. And I think a lot of times we just need to get in and do it. And I think we lose sight of that. Same in the classroom. A lot of time maybe we have instructions, or when we're teaching, we want to, put the bullet points. So this is how I want you to do this, and step by step by step. Maybe what we need to do is just do it. Have them experiment, have them play, because, and I hate using the growth mindset buzzword, a lot, but if we're truly going to have the growth mindset, then we need to learn how to have those failures, but learn how to learn from those failures. And I think that's a great way to learn to have failures and how to overcome failures is by just doing it right out of the box. So I think it has two aspects that really help us. One, it lets us know what the starting point is. What things don't I really have to work on, or how can I prioritize what I want to work on? Because again, maybe I don't need to work on specific things that I thought maybe I did, but naturally it's working out well. And secondly, it lets us just jump right in there and start to think about, okay, these are the areas where I need to improve. This is the failure that I had, or, I didn't succeed here, but how do I overcome that? And I think we get more of the critical thinking, and we certainly get more of reflection out of that. And those are skills that we really need, whether it's in the athletics world or the educational world, is we need those critical thinking skills where we can look at what went well, what went wrong. And that's the other side of it then. The other side is if we just go out and do it, then we can see naturally what we do well. Maybe we didn't even think about that. We didn't even think that this was an option, or we weren't even able to go down this path because we didn't think we'd be able to do it. And all of a sudden we can do it. So now it opens up more doors and more possibilities for us to try as coaches and educators with our students and our players and our athletes. So my challenge for everyone is try to think about how much time you spend explaining something that you want where you could have just done it and shown it, right? Just do it. And the one criticism or drawback that we might have is, well, what if I can't physically do it? As a coach, I can't demonstrate this technique. You find someone that can. Have a player on your team that already knows the technique, or you have seen do it, and have them demonstrate it. Same concept, just show it and then do it. And again, I think one of the best things that we've changed, especially in our youth camps, in our little camps, our kindergartners, first and second graders, we don't spend a lot of time explaining how to play volleyball. We put a volleyball in their hands and say, okay, let's do this. Let's hit the ball back and forth. And then we talk about, okay, you know how you were moving this way. Let's try and move with this footwork first. But they have a point of reference now because they just went out and tried it. And if you think about when we're growing up and we try all these sports, kickball, baseball, football, most of the time we just go out and try it before we do organized sports. And then that's when we kind of mess it up and start throwing too much coaching and too much technical stuff into it. But think about the first time that you went out and played baseball. It probably wasn't on a team, right? You went out with some friends, went in the backyard, went down the field, and you just started to learn. Your friends probably didn't stand there for hours and say, okay, this is how you hold the bat, and this is how you swing the hips, and this is where you put your shoulders and your chin. You just went out and did it, and you learned on your own what worked and what didn't work. You know, from a personal experience, I grew up playing beach volleyball without any coaches. I literally can remember the first time I've ever played volleyball was at a picnic. It was even before we did it in school. But I was at a picnic and they were just playing, and they were nice enough to let this little punk kid onto the court, and I fell in love instantly. And I fell in love because I tried it right away. I don't know that if I would have gotten there and they said, okay, this is how you hold the ball, this is what we want you to do, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. Same with football. I played football, midget football, and in elementary school, but my first exposure was actually playing football on the playground with friends. It wasn't organized. And again, I didn't know how to throw a football. I just grabbed it and chucked it, and it was ugly. But then I kept working on it and feeling it, felt good, and it got better. But I didn't have anyone sitting there saying, okay, hold it with the laces like this and do that. I just went out and did it. And I think too many times, the two biggest mistakes that we make in this are we first assume, and we all know how that goes, but we first assume that players that come to us already have knowledge, and we don't know that. If you're a club coach, say you're coaching any sport, U16, you assume that by the time they get to U16, that those kids have the basic skills they need to play on the level that you're coaching. But that's not always the case. But we don't know that because we break down and structure it and give them all the structure. We don't get to see them just go out and try and fail. And the other side it comes in tryouts, right? Because a lot of times tryouts are unstructured. But a lot of kids today aren't used to unstructured. They are used to having everything. This is how you need to do it. This is exactly how you need to go through this drill or play this game. That when they actually just go out and play and when you want to see what ability they have, they struggle. How many times have we seen players that struggle in tryouts but then are phenomenal players because once they get in that structure? Just going out and do it helps us learn to work within an unstructured environment. It cuts down on our coaching time, what I like to call our word vomit. Think about that. Look at your last practice that you can remember and how much time did you spend talking about something? This is what I want you to do. This is where I want you to be. We try really hard to limit it, and it's still a process. All this stuff that I talk about on Focus Fridays are all a process. It's not like we automatically do everything right. I still find myself a lot of time going into the bad habits, and I have to snap out of it. But this year, a big focus for me was making sure that I was just like, hey, let's just go do it. I want this type of play run, or I want you to serve like this. And I don't break it down. Hey, just go do it. And then I come back and say, okay, this is what we need to fix. Your footwork's fine, but your hips are shifting. Whereas before I would have been like, okay, we want this footwork and we want this hip work and then we want this shoulder work. Just go out and do it because now you have a reference point. And sometimes it is all bad. The footwork's wrong, the hips are wrong, the shoulders are wrong. There are times that everything's bad, but I bet there's a lot of times that things are good and we wasted a lot of time talking about something that we didn't have to talk about. So that, again, is my challenge for you on this Focus Friday. Go back and look at your practices and where could you have just said, hey, do it. Just go out and do it. And then we'll figure it out. And remember, you're going to have pushback because kids these days especially they are used to being told exactly where to stand, how to do this. And they'll probably freak out a little bit because they're not used to being told, just go out. Just go out and do it, and then we'll figure it out. Let's see how it happens. All right, as usual, you can reach me across all social media at RealDanMickle, danmickle.com, and you can also reach Soul Performance Academy at 717Soul, soulperformanceacademy.com. Would love to hear your comments. Put them below. Subscribe, like, share, rate. Do everything you possibly can. Let's get this word out here and get more of a movement going on here in our coaching and educational world and have some of these great discussions. And you can always email me, Dan at danmickle.com, for any topics that you would like to cover. Peace, much love, don't suck, and see you all next week.